Hey, Dr. Kelly, do you want to watch an octopus play the piano?
I guess so. Let's see what he can do.
You ready? Let's play, Tako.
Dude, that was right on beat. Oh, I was missing the note there.
War!
Nice. Dude, there's no way this thing's playing on beat. Nice.
Tako, good job! That was amazing!
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. So it sounds like he was just like vamping on C minor, and then the notes, I'm trying to look at like the notes that are on the...
Yeah, it sounds like they're doing the blues scale, because it's got that... I definitely heard that.
He played the F sharp there, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe this octopus can play piano. Well, I'm confused about, and I'm trying to think through like the structure of like what he just played, but I'm confused at how it seems like the octopus hit notes on beat one, like more than one time. You know, a rat, or like all kinds of experiments where you teach an animal to do something with food and then they get it, like rats press a lever or do this. So I get that. That's what I'm confused about. And I'm wondering if there's some editing going on here to make it, to make this happen. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. The timing is, I think, where it would get dicey, because you can very easily just select notes that you know are going to sound good based on what the chords are behind them. And we think about that, I guess, as musicians too. Oh, the chord's a C minor. What scale am I going to go for? The blues scale. Cool, the octopus is going to play the blues scale. But I think that him playing on beat is very interesting.
Very interesting. There. Yeah, there's something. There might be some editing magic going on.
Do you think there are any similarities between an octopus's piano journey and then an adult beginner's piano journey?
Okay, so let me say that the desire is pretty common in humans to learn piano. I don't think it was common with the octopus.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not adult beginners. Adult beginners in our program, definitely, like they have like a desire to learn. It's something they've always wanted to do. I actually think teaching an octopus is more like teaching like a kid. And the reason I say that is because, so funny story, even though I'm a professional piano teacher, we have my daughter go to the lady down the street so that me and my daughter don't kill each other.
Smart, yeah.
Even though I practice with her, I end up teaching her anyway. But she goes to this like lady who I'm like, she's in charge. Like, I'm not in charge. This teacher is really good at the rewards, like the treasure box thing, the bouncy ball. That's kind of what you do with piano students. Not super common in adults, but super common in kids. When they don't have the intrinsic motivation, you have to figure out a way to get them to care, whether it's like stickers or like a little popper or bouncy ball or something. And I am terrible at that with kids. I'm not going to give you stickers. Like, I'll just, and honestly, it usually doesn't last very long because the kids don't like it and I don't like it, and one of us fires the other one like pretty soon, which is fine, right? Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's why with Piano by Pictures, like we focused on adults, because I hate solving the I don't want to do this problem. And there are kids who want to do it, obviously, but like the adults generally they come, no one's making them do anything, so they're there because they want to be there learning piano because they want to be. In summary, teaching an octopus is like teaching a kid, but not an adult.
On the idea of positive reinforcement, I think a lot of people get discouraged when they discover how difficult piano playing is. Do you think there's any tips for staying positive and maybe using some positive reinforcement in your own practicing?
Yeah, I think with Piano by Pictures, the positive reinforcement, especially if you're an adult beginner, is success. In this scenario, if I were to compare the adult to the octopus, the crab coming down is like the success at playing it, as they sit down and they have success at playing it, and then that success becomes addictive, and then they just want to play more and more. And I think that's the that's like the place where people get lost the most, is they sit down and they go the traditional method route, and really they just want to play songs, but it's a long time before they're able to play that song, right? So they quit.
I think what you said about the bar being interesting, I think a great way to keep your practice fun is to try to make little games out of things, playing around with different speeds, playing around with playing things with different phrasing and whatnot. Do you think there's value in sort of gamifying the piano learning process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a really powerful way to gamify your playing is, if you're getting ready for a performance, is, especially if there's like a difficult part, like let's say it's hard to do this with like a whole piece, but like if there's 16 measures that are like really difficult, can you play those 16 measures 5 times in a row and make no mistakes, miss no notes, and if you make a mistake, you start over. It's like a kind of a mental game you play, because a lot of times with those difficult passages, like sometimes it'll go well, sometimes it won't go well, and a way to kind of like force yourself into the type of focus that can make you execute that passage well over and over is to play games like that. So, and you can do that with kids, with like beginners too. It's like, let's see if we can do this song 3 times with no mistakes. If they're learning Alouetta and they're playing it, like let's get all the rhythms and all the notes right. And that's usually something that they can accomplish, and it's a good way to gamify, especially to get ready for a performance.
I noticed in the Octopus's piano journey that before it had its major breakthrough, it had a regression. How do you typically deal with a student that has a regression, and how does sort of backwards progress play into an overall forwards progress when you're learning the instrument?
Yeah, I would say that just in general, that's normal. That's like part of the game, that progress in piano is not always up and to the right. It's not always linear. It's more like the stock market. If you work at it, if you invest, right, it'll generally go up and to the right over a long period of time, but there will be periods where you have a downturn. I have kids who, or adults who are, maybe we're learning a song together and they're hitting a wall. I will actually usually just, hey, let's set this aside for a while. Because oftentimes it can get to a point where you're beating your head against the wall and you're not making any progress. Let's say I'm teaching a kid, they're learning traditional method, they're using sheet music, they're getting to a point where it's like difficult. And they're a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, and I know that they like Disney. I'm like, hey, here's a Piano by Pictures version of Let It Go. You don't have to worry about, the quarter notes or eighth notes or something. And then generally it's just, that's enough to get them like excited about the piano again. Mm-hmm. And we'll stay there as long as it takes before we go back to the other one. But I've also just said, you know what, like this song is supposed to teach you, I don't know, triplets, right? You can learn triplets like later. I think there's some wisdom in the, like, if you go to like a conservatory and let's say you want to like, your thing is like Beethoven, you want to be the next like Brendel, like you want to like play Beethoven, Daniel Barenboim, the next Daniel Barenboim. They also, both of them played like lots of other styles too. Like I think that when I'm playing something, and if I'm playing like something in the Romantic period I don't feel like it's like making progress, I will just switch and like play something else that's like a different style and then come back to it later. And oftentimes like after sleeping on it for a few days and having fresh ears and fresh fingers, things will click that didn't click before. When you're like butting your head against the wall, I do not think that is wasted effort. I think actually when you do that and it's not clicking in the moment, I think you go to sleep, and I don't know how much you've read about like what happens in your brain when you sleep, but how it sifts through information and like gets rid of information that isn't useful and like creates new like that's kind of where all the magic happens. Like sometimes you got to sleep on it. I don't know if you ever had the experience where you like practice, it's not clicking, you go to bed and you wake up and then all of a sudden it clicks.
Oh yeah, of course. I've even had that on a hard video game level before.
And it's because while you're sleeping, your brain like processes like what has worked, what hasn't worked, and figures out how to do it. So sometimes, like in that situation with hitting your head against the wall, I think it's best to just switch and do something else, come back to it later, or not. Just make progress in different ways.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Something I like to say to students is the path of mastery is not something you walk one time. You get to a certain point and then you have to go back to your basics and rebuild everything from scratch. And you get to a certain point again and then it's back to basics. And something I run into as a teacher is the student will always want to learn something new each lesson. They want to come in and feel like they got a new thing. And it's not, you don't collect musical skill the way you get Legos. You know, sometimes you have to go back and maybe work on a song longer than you feel like you need to work on it, or take the time to actually go deep into the subject. I think we talked about it when we talked about scales, where it's like, you know, don't play every scale every day. Pick one key and just go deep. It's way more effective.
As you progress and as you get better, you become aware of different things that you can work on in the basics. And the basics actually become not so basic anymore. It's like, okay, now there's like a different level of thinking that I'm going to approach this scale practice or the practice of this piece with.
I agree. Lately, I've been practicing less, but when I do practice, I do your 5-finger exercise. My last question has less to do with the octopus and more to do with the young man who built the piano. This idea of persistence and staying positive and just using brute force to get it done. Volume wins every single time. And I think that this video is such a good example of just the power of brute forcing something and just keeping at it and figuring out what's wrong and then fixing the mistake and, you know, not getting too upset throughout the process. You know, I think it's a really, really interesting thing we're watching here.
Yeah, no, totally. He came up against several walls. First, I think the pull versus push. And then that he wasn't interested in it. So he just kind of kept innovating and coming with solutions. Doesn't mean that the first solution works. You keep trying until you find something that does. I think that's very, very applicable to anything you do, right? Business, piano playing, anything. So that's it. You keep innovating and keep trying things until you find something that works, and then you double down on it and do it a lot.
Well said, my friend. All right, I think we got enough of that from the octopus.
And if you want to learn how to play the piano, even if you're not an octopus, even if you're a Homo sapien, you can click the link in the description, grab 3 free Piano by Pictures books, and try it for yourself.